All right, hello everyone. Today I'll be speaking with you all about a workflow management process that I developed at the University of South Alabama. This process was born out of Google Forms but is powered by three main Google Sheet add-ons. These add-ons help us with creating automated emails, creating calendar events, and lastly creating some purchasing documents that our department needs in order to complete the process. But before I get too heavily into the Google Sheets side of things, I think it's appropriate to first look at the program proposal Google form itself. Um, but again, before I even do all of that, I want to walk through the process. So on the screen right now, as you can see, there is a workflow management diagram. The first thing that I want to draw your attention to is the program proposal submission. So this is how things start off. Students, staff members, and anyone that is really putting in a proposal will submit a Google form program proposal. That program proposal collects a couple of information pieces about the event, but also about that staff member. And then once they go and click submit, an automated email gets sent to their supervisor. Our workflow management process is aligned to where most of the time an RA will submit a program proposal, and that program proposal will then be forwarded to their community director. And so often the community directors will see this email sent to them. That email will also contain a link to the Google form that was originally submitted that allows that community director to take action on the approval of the form. So they can choose to deny the program, but they can also choose to approve it. And so if they decide to deny the program, the person that submitted the original request up here will get an automated email that gets sent to them informing them of the approval decision, and then it ends in the Google spreadsheet. But if that CD decides to approve the program, what will happen next is a series of things. First, an email will get sent to the requester of the event saying, hey, your program is approved. You can go ahead and move forward with informing people, and soon you'll receive some information regarding purchasing. The Google Sheet that is created from the Google form will then create a calendar event that will get added to a Google Calendar that you create. It will also go ahead and create a memo that our department uses to expedite or go about the process of purchasing things. And lastly, an email containing the memo, the flyer, and several other pieces of the program initial proposal will get sent finally to the supervisor of the community directors to take to our purchasing process. And lastly, it'll end up in the Google Sheet. So that's a big picture view of what our workflow management process looks like. There's still several kinks that we are still working through, but for the majority's sake of things, this process has worked pretty well with us. And so now I want to walk us through creating this original program proposal form because there are some pieces to it that make the Google Sheet process a lot easier. So we'll go over to our program proposal. We'll be looking at Azalea's program proposal today, and as you can see, they've got 39 program proposals they submitted for this academic year. The first piece of this is really just the introductory screen, and the introductory screen kind of funnels students and staff members to where they need to be. But this piece up here just kind of describes what this is for and some helpful links to guide students through the process. But the main question that will be asked here is, what is your role in this process? Are you the event requester or the event approver? Most of the time, event requesters will be RAs or community council representatives, and the approvers will be CDs, coordinators, and eventually, potentially, the assistant director or associate director. Depending on their response, you will actually get taken to a different sheet on this form. So if you click Event Requester, you'll be taken to the Event Request form. And if you are the Event Approver, you will be sent to the Event Approval form. But more on that later. As I said before, the form collects information about staff members or students. It also collects some information about the event. Here specifically is where I want to draw your attention to. So this information that we're collecting is very important because this is what fuels the creation of the calendar event. And so we need some information about the event title, where it's going to be located. We also specifically need information about the date and the time that it will be beginning and ending. And lastly, the event description. This doesn't automatically get pulled into the calendar event just because we don't believe that it would be helpful there. But it's very important for the other Google add-on that we use, which is the document creating software. That allows us to pull information from this Google form into a document that could either be a Google Doc or a PDF format. This Google form also collects some information about our programming model here at the University of South Alabama. So as you can see, it's asking for a learning category, and then from that learning category, it's asking specifically for what learning objectives will be met at the program. And we try to make sure that our staff members are tying their program proposals back to our learning objectives. That's why there's a required form here. They would select from a drop-down menu from here and then go to that specific learning category to select which learning objective they want to say is belonging to that program. The rest of them will then click NA if that is not the learning category that will be for that program. Lastly, we'll ask for some budgetary information. So we'll be asking about the population just to kind of gauge if the amount of money we're asking for kind of fits the target population. We'll also be asking what type of program, just because we have different levels of programming requirements for our RAs. We also ask about the attendance, again, mostly to understand if the money kind of matches how many students are going to be there. We also ask for materials needed, just in case there's anything that we need to buy that's not going to be consumed. So if they want us to potentially make fake blood, they might ask for cornstarch or that sort of thing. So that'll go there. And then lastly, the total budget will go there. This number is mostly just a rounded estimate that will also go into the document that's created whenever we get to the Google Sheet. Lastly, some really cool things have been added to Google Forms. You can now actually upload documents to a Google form. So you can ask for a file upload in your question type, and then you can specifically line out how much you want to allow students to upload. So I have limited the maximum number of files to 5, just because I don't know that we'll ever need more than 5 purchase requests. We only have about 5 vendors. And then our event flyer, we only need 1 flyer for the event, so that's what we've got going on there. And that's mostly just for our purchasing side of things. We require that. From here, they would click Next or Submit, and it will take them to this form where they will just click the Submission button here. And that is how students would go about submitting a program proposal. But as I mentioned before, there are 2 forms that take place here. The first is the event request form, and then there's the event approval form. If you are the event approver, you'll click the event approver option and click Next, and that'll jump you to the event approval page right here. And here is where the decision or the take action element happens. We have 3 main options. You can approve a program, you can deny a program, or you can mark it as an FYI sort of situation. This is mostly for those sort of programs that don't really require any funding or anything. They're just kind of there for us to know that it's happening. This explanation is not required, just because often there's rarely a time where we need to explain why we're approving a program, but often if one is denied, we want to explain to our staff members potentially why. And lastly, just so that students aren't potentially rampantly approving their own programs, we have set a password. This is an interesting situation here where you can actually select from these options a short answer response. And then from here, if you click the drop-down menu, you can click response validation. This allows for us to essentially say that there's a password lock on here. So We've marked our area code for the area as 36688. That is the password that we use for most of our approvals. And there's a nice little message that'll pop up if anyone tries to submit a program proposal and approve it without the password. Some pieces here, I make sure that it's the number category as well as equal to, because there's a lot of conditional things that can happen here. We make sure it's equal to this password so that when they click submit at the end of this form, that it's actually approved. But that's a large overview of what happens in these forms. Again, some specific things to pay attention to when you're making your forms is that we can upload documents right here by clicking the File Upload option. You have to, if you're going to be using the event creation tool, ask these specific questions, the event title, location, and the end and start date and time questions. The event description is mostly for us in our department, but you could also include it in whatever you're asking or looking for. And again, the most important piece is this funneling question here. So if you're an event requester, you'll be going to the event request form page, and if you are an event approver, you'll be going to the event approval page. And in the next video, we'll be walking through the Google Sheets side of things, but that is a large overview of what we'll be looking at for event program proposals. See you in the next video.